What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video where today we are going to recap a couple of the trades that I made on the day and of course give you guys a little mini lesson along the way as I normally do. And the only thing that I ask is that for every single person that watches the video, please give it a thumbs up because it helps the YouTube algorithm, and then that will press my videos to more and more outlets on YouTube that will get more and more views, and this is my job and I make income doing it, so it would be greatly appreciated. Nonetheless, let's get into it. So definitely a good day. We're ending the day up here about $1,200 green. Let's get to sharing the trades. What do we trade for the day? AMD, BABA. All right, so we'll start here with BABA. Start with the losing trade. So we were watching BABA long, and if you joined in on the morning stream today, early this morning, we kind of said it was questionable whether or not BABA was going to continue breaking up today since we were at this previous top here on the daily chart. So let's go into the 1 minute chart, take a look at it. All right, so I ended up trading it right here. Let's see, show trades. So I'm getting long 400 shares. All right, so at this point, I've been long on BABA, long bias for the past couple days, really wanting to see if we could break out of that top that I just showed you after the earnings report. We kind of been grinding up. And I even said that on the morning stream, we were kind of close to that previous top resistance, so it was questionable whether or not we were going to break out today. So while taking this trade, I was mindful of where the price was on a bigger chart or the daily chart, knowing that we were close to resistance. So I got in this trade anticipating that the follow through should happen instantly, and if not, then it most likely wasn't going to be the right trade. So you see BABA bounces up, then we kind of come down, then we bounce back up, get over this top, and we kind of hesitate, and then we hold that previous breakout, that top, and that's why I wanted to get long. So I ended up getting long on this candle here, 400 shares at 148.65. We kind of push up, then we come right back down. So once we held the previous breakout top, which again was this top, and we kind of held there on this candle, next candle opens up, we get a decent amount of buyers coming in on it. I jump in, and then the next candle hesitates, comes right back down. And that's where I didn't trust it, because normally if it were going to want to continue moving, it probably would have done it instantly. So the fact that we were getting that hesitation there, I didn't like it, didn't feel comfortable with it. So I ended up taking the trade off pretty much immediately, resulting in a $12 loss. All right. And that's pretty much there. That's all there was there for that trade. Now let's go over to AMD. We'll start with MTCH. MTCH was on our watch list this morning too. It was a gap down stock from an earnings report. So they had earnings after hours. The stock gaps down, and we were put this on the watch list today too in the morning. And so if I zoom out here, you will see that we had a top here pre-market. We come down, we go all the way back up to that pre-market top. Okay, so what does this look like? Okay, so I'll draw this over here. We have the move up pre-market to reserve. We had the move up pre-market and it topped out, right? Then we come down, so then we come down. Okay, and then it goes all the way back up. Typically, this would be a double top, right? You're right at resistance. So what most of you guys are taught, and I myself included into that group, what we're most oftenly taught is that this is more of a double top pattern. And to buy right there would be buying at resistance, and that's typically a no-no, which is true depending on the circumstances. And based on these circumstances, this was a situation where it was okay to buy the top. It could have went against me, sure, but this is one of those situations where buying the top for a breakout did in fact work well, and rather than it double topping, it spiked up. Okay, so now you're going to be asking me, Connor, well, how do you know that it's not going to double top and then it's going to continue moving higher? Well, the most accurate answer I can give to you there is experience, practice, and learning over and over and over and over and over in being put in a situation like this to know that it will probably continue. Other than that, what else would there be? I mean, you might look at the time in sales. You might look at the level 2. It might be the price action. But at the end of the day, it's experience of being able to combine all those factors at that moment in time to be able to make the decision that this is most likely going to go higher. So it's not just the level 2, it's not just time and sales, it's not just one thing or the other, it's all of them combined through experience that would give you the confidence and the knowledge or knowingness that this would probably continue up. All right, so pretty straightforward. Ended up getting long on it. All right, so here's the top pre-market we go over. So I ended up getting long here. My first trade was on the second candle. So the first candle kind of jumps around, right? This first candle is what gave me kind of the signal to jump in long initially. Why? If I were to take these trades off for a second so we can see it a little better, if you look at this candle, obviously it smashes down, right? And then it gets bought right back up. So think about that. This candle opens up on the day, and then it gets, hangs out for a second, then it gets smashed down. Really big beat red candle, okay? Then what happens next? It gets sucked all the way back up, creating a long lower wick. And then the body of the candle closes just above the red dotted line, the resistance. So we have resistance at the red dotted line. Connor's thinking about trading. The market opens, and then it smashes down on the first 1 minute candle. Then it gets bought right back up to a very bullishly green looking candle. And then the 1 minute candle closes. The body closes above the resistance. To me, that's strength. That is what's going to give me the confidence to jump in on this second candle. All right, so let's put the trades back on. So then I jump in here on the second candle, 500 shares at 62.65. Very quick trade. We push up to 63.26, so a quick win of about 40, maybe 50 cents a share on the 500 shares. So I take off 450 shares. Next candle starts to come down a little bit, and I close out all the rest of those 50 shares on the way down. So you can see trade in 500, sell out majority at 63.26, and I take 25 shares off at 63.48, and then another couple shares at 62.25. Okay, then we pull back. We come right back up. Okay, I got to almost take the trades off again so you can see this clearly. Okay, so at this point, right, once the candle spikes up and then we come all the way back down, pretty much eliminating the gains of this second candle in the day, I'm like, well, this could actually roll over and turn into a decent short. So I'm like, okay, before being long, I'm actually going to be kind of on the sidelines, playing both sides at this point. We could fall into a short, kind of panic out, or we could spike back up. So as I'm considering like maybe watching it for a short on this candle, all of a sudden it spikes up all the way right back to the highs very bullishly. Again, taking back all the gains or all the losses that we just made. We went right back to taking in all the gains. And then this candle opens above this candle. So this candle here, as soon as it opened, was just basically resting on the top of the previous green. And that's very bullish. So what do? I size up on this one, actually, because I noticed that was extremely bullish. So I go from doing 500 shares here to 1,000 shares. So then I take 1,000 shares long at 64.17, pretty much instantly squeezes all the way up to 64.64. So I take off 900 shares. I leave on 100 shares. And as it continues to spike up a little bit, I end up taking those last 100 shares off at 65.38. So all in all, resulting in a $644 day there on MTCH. So good stuff. All right, next ticker I traded was AMD. Okay, so let's talk about this one real quick. Let's take these trades off. And the best way to really explain AMD would be having to take a look at the daily chart. So if we look at the daily chart, this was the previous 52-week high here at about 35, okay? And we're actually going to put a price level there, or it might already be, no, it's not. So we're going to put a price level here at this previous high, which is like 35.50. All right, so this was the previous 52-week high, right? And if you followed the morning stream, we were saying, hey, we're going to watch AMD short today. And we, in fact, shorted it. And the reason we were watching it short is because it's really been on this very bullish long leg up, okay? We've had this really, really nice long move, shall we say. And then this leg, we have 1 green day, 2 green days, 3 green days, 4 green days in a row. And then we finally had our first red day just yesterday out of the past 4 or 5 trading sessions, right? So it's a nice long move without any red days, and then we get our first red day yesterday, just over the top of the 52-week resistance, okay? So the likelihood that we kind of see AMD pull back today was pretty high because, again, we just had 4 extremely bullish days, pushed the stock up to over the 52-week high, and then we got our first red day out of the past 4 days. As we get over the 52-week high, really not coincidental at all, makes a lot of sense. So we said, let's keep an eye on it, short bias today. So if we go back to the 1-minute chart here and pop the trades on, you'll see I took like 3 separate trades. The first one was being optimistic. Let me, this will be fine. So the first one was being kind of optimistic. We had some higher lows coming here, and we kind of had this little wedge development taking place. And you can kind of see we started to break that wedge up. So I ended up going long 2,500 shares, kind of banking on the idea that this might in fact actually kind of squeeze up here because we know that a lot of people shorted here and we're probably shorting in here trying to get this move to go lower. And if they were wrong, it would cause a squeeze. And there's plenty of examples in setups where AMD does exactly that. So I wasn't really wrong for thinking that it could happen, but of course the trade was wrong. I was wrong on the trade, and I ended up losing about $100 on that trade, I think it was. Because you'll see I ended up getting in at 2,500 shares at 36.21 and taking them off at 36.17. So for 36.17, that's 3 shares, 25, 25, 75, and a 2. So yeah, it was about a $125 loss there, something like that. Okay, so I wasn't wrong for thinking that it could do that because we've seen multiple occasions where AMD does exactly that. It pushes up on the day, pulls back to around the VWAP, consolidates, forms a nice pattern, and then it squeezes up. So anyways, didn't work, right? So once I felt that the long wasn't going to work, I quickly reversed biases saying, okay, if the long failed there, the likelihood this moves lower is pretty good. Okay, we were at the 52-week high. We had a decent red day yesterday. This has a good chance of moving lower now. So we have this low point here, right? If we take that low point right here, right, we got that low point there. So you can see we kind of come down and we go right to it. We don't break on this candle. And then we kind of hesitate on this candle, but you can see that the selling volume was increasing going into that small support level, right? You could see this was the very absolute bottom of this move, right? If we come down, we bounce here, and then we have like another little test there, and then we're up. So that's the absolute low point there, right? That one. And so as we can see these candles coming down, the volume is starting to increase to the sell side. And then this last candle here, there was kind of like a little cross, little doji candle. It wasn't bullish at all. It didn't close green. And it broke below, didn't close green. So that tells me we're not really respecting that support with a lot of strength. So the chances we break through are pretty high. And as you can see, the selling volume is increasing. So what do? I take a short of 2,500 shares at 36, get filled at 36.02. And then as we drop down a decent amount, I take off 1,700 shares at 35.89. And then I hold 800 shares, right? And now let's zoom back a little bit, right? So where does that put us? Okay, so we get short here. It drops out. I take some shares off. And then where do we get to? We get down to low of day mark. Right there. Okay, so most traders, what they're typically taught is if a stock puts in a point right here and then it comes down to that point, that is going to be a double bottom and the stock will bounce. In many cases, that is correct. But in this particular situation, with the circumstances that were given, it remained a short play that was most likely going to break down the support. Most cases, I would have either covered up the whole position here, or if I missed the short, I'd be buying a bounce trade. So the reason I didn't cover up the full position, and I actually added more short on that candle, was because I was able to anticipate we were most likely going to continue this breakdown. How and why? Well, for one, we were at the 52-week high, just broke through, so we're at a pretty big resistance on like the daily chart, right? We've been on a big run. We haven't had a correctional move on the stock in quite some time, so the selling pressure makes sense to the downside. Secondly, if you look at this green candle that holds here as like the attempt of holding support, okay, it wasn't very strong. It didn't really pop much. So we can already see there wasn't really a strong kind of attempt at holding support. And then your following two candles are red, right? Still have a lot of selling pressure. Only one little green buy volume in there. What's the likelihood this breaks down support? Pretty good, right? So I add another 2,000 shares short there at 35.83 on top of the 800 shares I already have. Because remember, I went 2,500, took off 1,700, so I still had 800 shares short. And then I add in 2,000 more shares. So right now I'm almost 3,000 shares short on AMD. So then we break down, I cover up 1,000 shares at 35.75, and then I cover up another 1,600 shares down here at 35.67, and then I close out 100 shares here at 35.55. And then later in the day, I closed out my last 100 shares here, and honestly, this wasn't the greatest trade, but it would have ended up being very good. I actually tried to get in long. I tried to get in long, mess something up. Long story short, I ended up having like a total of, I think, like 4,000 shares in my order window when I went to click buy. And that was more money than I had that I was able to actually trade with at the time. And so I ended up having to kind of do like, so this is basically what I did. I had like 4,000 shares, and I'm like, you know what? I know this is going to break out. Cool, I'll do 4,000 shares. That's 40,000, excuse me. So I'm like, I know this is going to break out, and I had 4,000 shares here. I'm like, let's hit a little big kind of scalp little trade here. So I click buy. It's too much money. I don't have enough money in my account to cover the cost of all those shares. So I'm like, okay, quickly go back down to 3,000 or whatever. So I go to 2,900. And by the time I'm able to click buy, we already started breaking out. So I tried to click buy of 4,000 shares before it broke out of this move. And then by the time I was able to reduce my share count and get in the 2,900, we already started pushing up. So then I ended up getting long at 35.84, which was like right here. Right, so top of that candle. Would have been in before the candle, but I caught the top of that because I was late, but I knew that the move still had some strength. So as it pops up, I take off 2,500 here and 400 shares there at 35.89 and 35.91. So a small little scalp trade is what it ended up becoming because I couldn't get in quick enough and I kind of goofed that up. Nonetheless, what is the setup there? Okay. So anyway, we resulted in $724 green on the day with AMD. All right, so let's take these trades off and review what exactly we're seeing here. Okay, so delete these. It's a cup and handle pattern for one, but there's more to it, okay? So we have this move down, right? And then we have this bounce back up. People end up getting in kind of short here, and this creates a short-term resistance going across, right? All right, and then we come down, we base out, we spike back up, and it just holds. It literally just holds below 35.80 for the longest time. We drop down, we kind of push back up. And if I draw this out for you, you're going to see that this is pretty much a picture-perfect cup and handle pattern. That's not perfect, eh? Let's redo this. Pop. So that is a cup and handle pattern when it looks like that. So it's a picture-perfect cup and handle. Ended up taking a trade on there. I think it resulted in like $120 or something. So nonetheless, end the day up on AMD, $724. And then there was one last trade I literally just did like a few minutes ago. I was kind of optimistic about it, but tried it, didn't really work. It was CNST. I didn't trade this all day. Just really wasn't trying to get involved with all the crazy hype this morning. Was already on a good morning. Just kind of let it go. But anyways, I took a small trade here. Well, I wouldn't really call it small, but 1,000 shares right here. We kind of started to curl up, and I'm like, maybe we get some type of squeeze play, being optimistic. So I'm getting long in at $29.99. Can feel that it's not going to squeeze. We kind of had the look and feel of a squeeze, like it was going to go, and then, of course, it obviously didn't feel like it was going to squeeze anymore, and then I ended up taking them off at $29.82, lose $144. So all in all, in the day, I was up at a total of like $1,350, and then after that small trade, ended up bringing me down to about $1,200. So nonetheless, another super good green day here in the books, so cannot complain. And those are all the trades we had on the day, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, feel free to join us if you would like in our private group where we do these trades live every single day with our members. They're alerted in real time through voice, just like this, and you can see them live. You can join in on them. We do it Monday through Friday every single day, starting at about 8 a.m. in the morning. Check out the link below. There is a link to our website that'll allow you to get into our private group, and there's also a 20% off coupon there. And then, of course, as we all know, Epstein, he didn't kill himself. He really didn't. Anyways, guys, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.